Hi, I'm Nelson, and this is the Sir Nelson IELTS and General English Training. In this video, we are going to read a book entitled Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. This is a classic and famous book. The pictures on the screen can show you what you are going to read about. The book is about a creature. The plot. Plot means the summary of the story. Frankenstein is a classic novel written by Mary Shelley. It tells the story of a brilliant scientist who becomes obsessed with the idea of creating life. He creates a creature which is rejected by the scientists and society due to its appearance. Now that's the summary of the book. The scientist named Victor creates a creature. The creature is very scary. He runs away from the creature. Society runs away from the creature. What is this story? What happens to the creature and what happens to Victor? This is the story. The story, here you have pictures, they can show you what the story is about. You can see the scientist creating the creature. The creature was in the form of a man. After creating, the creator himself was afraid of his creation and ran away. The creature had to begin life. What does the creature do? Let's read the story. When you're improving or learning English, the most important thing that you need in the beginning is good vocabulary. For without words, you have nothing to play with. When you are learning English, you need some basic words and sentences or phrases for you to be able to improve. You can only improve your grammar if you have some words or sentences. So books can help you to learn these words that you can play with. There are several effective methods for acquiring new vocabulary. What are these methods? Number one, read extensively. Extensively means read widely, read so much. Reading books, articles, and other written materials exposes you to new words in context. It helps you to understand how words are used and enhances your language skills. It's important for you to learn new words in context. Why? English words have more than one meaning. All English words have many meanings. So you can only learn the meaning of a word through context. It's impossible for you to read the dictionary. The best way to learn new words or phrases is to read storybooks which show you words in context. Reading books aids contextual learning. Rather than memorizing isolated words, learn new vocabulary in context. Understand how words are used in sentences or phrases. Remember, it is not wise for you to go and read the dictionary. But once you read a book, you will learn the meaning of the word in that context. When you read many books, you will know very many words. You can know the same word in different contexts. And that's what they call learning. Through that, you will speak, read, and write well. At the Sir Nelson, we have the Sir Nelson Book Club. The purpose of the book club is to read books. We read books as many as possible, and we try to enjoy learning English. New words. Creature. The word creature is a noun. It is used to refer to a life form that is unusual or imaginary. The things that you see there in the picture are called creatures. They are not animals, they are not things, they are not people, but they are creatures. The right word for that is creature. Then we have monster. A monster is also a creature. All of them are imaginary, but frightening. Any imaginary frightening creature, especially one that is large and strange, is called a monster. But a monster is also a creature. We also have a giant. A giant is an imaginary creature like a man, but extremely tall, not like ordinary men, strong and usually very cruel, appearing especially in children's stories. In the picture, you can see the image of a giant. These appear in movies or books. Let's begin the story. As we read, I'm going to play the sound. It's the sound of a native speaker. Native speakers read English in a native way. So I advise you, before you read, listen and copy.
Chapter 8. The Creature's Story. The creature began to tell Victor his story.
When I came to life in your laboratory, I was like a baby. I could not speak or understand.
The creature went to his creator for help, but Victor ran away. He was cold, and he covered himself with Victor's clothes.
Remember, after creating the creature was scary. Victor, the scientist, decided to run away. The creature came to him for help, but he was scaring, and so he decided to run away. The creature had nowhere to go. It decided to put on his clothes because it was cold. Then he covered himself with Victor's clothes.
Then he left the room and walked through the town out into the country. He did not know where to go. Then he left the room and walked through the town out into the country. He did not know where to go. He was thirsty and hungry. He drank from a river and ate fruit from the trees.
The creature went into the country. Country means the village. He did not know where to go. The creator ran away from it, and nobody wanted to be near. He was thirsty and hungry. Thirsty means he wanted something. The desire to drink is called thirsty. Then the desire to eat is hungry. The creature was thirsty and hungry. He drank from a river and ate fruit from the tree.
Snow began to fall, and his feet were cold. He went inside a house where there was an old woman.
Who are you? God help me! What a hideous creature!
He went inside a house and met an old woman. Inside the house, as you can see in the picture, was an old woman who was afraid. Of course, you could not look at such a creature and you don't become afraid. Who are you? God help me. What a hideous creature. Hideous means extremely ugly or bad. Something or someone who is very ugly or bad. By looking at the creature, we know that the creature is ugly. But is it bad? We don't know. So far as we have read the story, it is clear that it looks very bad. It looks ugly, doesn't look good. But is it bad? We don't know. Let's continue reading the story.
She ran out in terror. He sat down by the fire. Then he came to a village. People were terrified when they saw him.
What kind of creature is it?
It's the devil himself.
He sat down by the fire because of the snow, it was very cold. Then he came to a village. People were terrified, afraid. Everyone who saw him was afraid. What kind of creature is it? It's the devil himself. They called him the devil. Terrified, very frightened, devil. An evil being often represented in human form, but with a tail and horns. We normally read about the devil in books, in stories. That character of the devil helps us to learn very many things about life. So in the book Frankenstein, they called the creature the devil because it was extremely ugly.
They threw stones at him.
Go away from here!
Out, you monster!
He ran away into the woods.
They threw stones at him because they never wanted to be next to him. He decided he ran away into the woods. We don't see any sign that he was bad. What we know that he looked very bad. But was he bad? Why were people afraid of him? Because of the looks. But because people look bad, does that mean ugly? Does that mean that they are bad? Maybe. Let's continue reading the story.
He hid in a hut next to a farmhouse. There was a small hole in the wall. He could see and hear the people in the house.
He hid in a hut next to a farmhouse. Hid is the past tense of hide, as you can see in the picture. There was a small hole in the wall. He could see and hear the people in the house.
They were good, kind people, but he was afraid to show himself.
Sit here by the fire, Father.
Thank you.
In the farmhouse, there were good, kind people, but he was afraid to show himself, especially the face, because everyone who looked at his face became afraid. Sit here by the fire, Father, a woman told the father. The daughter is telling the father. The father is probably old, and they're helping him to sit in the chair and be cold by the fire. Of course, the father thanked them. Thank you.
He lived there for months. At night, he worked to help the family.
He lived there for months. At night, he worked to help the family. They were afraid, but they didn't know that he was staying there. He was hiding. But at night, he helped them. This is an indicator that the monster was not bad. Yes, it's true, he was hideous, he looked bad, but he was not that bad. At least, there is nothing yet in the story to suggest that he was bad.
Look, Agatha. Somebody has cut all this firewood for us.
It is the good spirit of the forest.
At first, he did not understand language, but he listened carefully and learnt to speak.
Here is some bread and milk, Father. Felix, can you get some wood for the fire?
Remember, at first, he didn't know how to speak. Remember, this is a story. The creature is telling its story to Victor the scientist. How did the creature learn how to speak? When he hid in the hut, he heard the family members speak. He listened and repeated. Remember, speaking can come from listening, just like the creature. The creature learned to speak by listening. He heard them say, "Here is some bread and milk, Father. Felix, can you get some wood for the fire?"
Bread, milk, wood.
He found a notebook in the pocket of the coat. He began to learn how to read.
He listened and repeated what they said. So listening and repeating can work. He found a notebook. A notebook is where I write, in the pocket of the coat. He began to learn how to read and write.
Victor Frankenstein, Geneva.
The creature thought the young people were beautiful. He looked at his own reflection in the water.
Geneva. He read the syllables of the words and learned how to read, speak, and write. He looked at his own reflection. A reflection is what you look at when you look in the mirror or water. And said, the creature thought the young people were beautiful. He looked at his own reflection in the water and he looked extremely ugly. He looked hideous. He hated himself, but that was him. He had nothing to do.
How ugly I am. I want to be a friend to these people, but how can I show them my face?
He wanted friends, but everyone feared him. He wondered what he could do. He wanted to be friends, but he had a very ugly face, and everybody was afraid of him. Listen to the complete audio and repeat.
Chapter 8. The Creature's Story. The creature began to tell Victor his story.
When I came to life in your laboratory, I was like a baby. I could not speak or understand.
The creature went to his creator for help, but Victor ran away. He was cold, and he covered himself with Victor's clothes. Then he left the room and walked through the town out into the country. He did not know where to go. He was thirsty and hungry. He drank from a river and ate fruit from the trees. Snow began to fall, and his feet were cold. He went inside a house where there was an old woman.
Who are you? God help me! What a hideous creature!
She ran out in terror. He sat down by the fire. Then he came to a village. People were terrified when they saw him.
What kind of creature is it?
It's the devil himself.
They threw stones at him.
Go away from here!
Out, you monster!
He ran away into the woods. He hid in a hut next to a farmhouse. There was a small hole in the wall. He could see and hear the people in the house. They were good, kind people, but he was afraid to show himself.
Sit here by the fire, Father.
Thank you.
He lived there for months. At night, he worked to help the family.
Look, Agatha. Somebody has cut all this firewood for us.
It is the good spirit of the forest.
At first, he did not understand language, but he listened carefully and learnt to speak.
Here is some bread and milk, Father. Felix, can you get some wood for the fire?
Bread. Milk. Wood.
He found a notebook in the pocket of the coat. He began to learn how to read.
Victor Frankenstein. Geneva.
The creature thought the young people were beautiful. He looked at his own reflection in the water.
How ugly I am. I want to be a friend to these people, but how can I show them my face?
Themes in chapter 8. A theme is the main idea that the writer wants readers to understand. Why did the writer write this story? What do we learn from it? 1. Ambition and search for knowledge. The novel shows the dangers of unchecked or unregulated ambition and search for knowledge. Victor's desire for knowledge leads him to create a creature. What is your view about technology, like artificial intelligence and others? Give your opinion. You can type, you can write somewhere, or when you meet somewhere, if you're watching the video in a group, you can discuss that. What happens when we leave scientists to do what they want? Is it good or bad? Give your opinion. What's your take on that? 2. Isolation and loneliness. Both Victor and the creature experience loneliness. In the earlier chapters, we see that Victor went to university and forgot his family. Victor withdraws from family and friends for years and creates a creature rejected by society. Cross out the E's. rejected by society due to its appearance. This rejection leads to a lot of suffering for Victor, the creature, and society. What is your take on this theme? Isolation and loneliness. Can you say something about that, basing on the story? Next, ethics and responsibility is also a theme in this book. The author raises questions about this. Should scientists be allowed to create anything they wish? What happens when scientists create things which harm others? Should we be, B is missing there, should we be responsible for our creations? Is this a wake-up call for parents who neglect their children? Have your say. Say something about what you hear. If you're watching this on social media, you can actually go and type something in the answer. Give your opinion. If you are in the book club, remember, in class, we shall be discussing that. Can you formulate your thoughts? Because we are going to speak, to discuss, to debate these themes. Prejudice and discrimination. The creature is rejected and mistreated, mainly because of his physical appearance. What are the dangers of this to society? Is the creature as evil as it looks? Have your say. If you are watching this on social media, go and in the comment section and write something. Give your opinion. Start the debate. If you are in the book club, of course, you can comment as well, but we shall discuss this more in class. We shall debate this thing, prejudice and discrimination. Chapter 8, The Creature's Story. Look at the pictures and try to say the story. Create the story by yourself. I've removed the words for you to try to look at the picture and try to remember the story. Use the picture to remember the story. You can pause the video if you wish, such that you can speak. Use the picture. Describe the picture. What is happening? What is happening in the picture? What happened in the story? Use this to make a recollection of the story. What happened here? What is happening? Try to remember the story. Recall what is happening here. What is happening here? Try to recall the story. Use that to remember. Use the pictures to remember the story. Use the pictures to recall the story. Use the pictures to recall. Through that, you will be practicing your English. You will be practicing your English.